While watching through the cutscenes for Wintermute Episode 2, I noticed something off about a specific line that Jeremiah said about Carter Dam. This is the part that bothered me.
Some fool tried to get it running again in the 80s, but then the forest talkers got involved and that was the end of it.
This is in reference to one of the revival attempts made over the years to resurrect and modernize Carter Dam. The problem is what he is saying here does not align at all with the written lore. This is the fandom wiki site for The Long Dark. As I am playing through each episode of Wintermute, I use it to supplement everything from the lore notes you find to the cutscene dialogue. The written lore in the fandom wiki site states this as the history of Carter Dam. Carter Dam was constructed in the 1960s by Richard Carter. It was nearly abandoned in the late 1960s because the price of coal fell. The first modernization attempt was in the 1980s. Changes to the Mystery Lake hydrology and public support for a provincial park caused the dam to be completely abandoned in the 1990s. Following the collapse in 2012, there was a second modernization attempt. The forest talkers got involved and forced a second and final shutdown of Carter Dam. This is more or less a summary of my video for the history of Carter Dam. Check that video out if you want all the details of the dam's history. In the process of writing that video, I used what I knew from reading the lore notes in-game and what was written in the wiki. According to the wiki, Jeremiah is wrong. At first I thought that with the redux of episode 2, Hinterland botched this specific bit of supplementary dialogue. It wasn't necessary as it provided background information about the dam. Then I realized the problem was much deeper than a simple lore inconsistency from Hinterland. The whole wiki is inconsistent. The problem is that certain things written in the wiki are not within the game, at least as far as I can tell. The wiki presents all the information from Predux and Redux and puts it together. Basically, some of the information for topics like Grey Mother, Jeremiah, and Carter Dam includes Predux lore and dialogue. This is information that is straight out of the original releases of Wintermute episodes 1 and 2 in 2017, which were rewritten, restructured, and re-released in 2018. Considering how different Predux episodes 1 and 2 are from their Redux versions, do you consider this old lore to be canon? I think based on how much work Hinterland put into the changes, I don't consider Predux to be canon at all. Unless it is in-game after the Wintermute Redux, it shouldn't be considered canon. A lot of what was in Predux is still present in Redux. Unfortunately, I've already made a bunch of videos that are heavily affected by these inconsistencies with the wiki and the Predux lore. A lot of Grey Mother's background is from Predux dialogue that she directly gives us, but that dialogue does not exist anywhere in Redux. She was still married, had a child, lost that child, separated from her husband, and lived alone afterwards. There are key details about her background that are only in Predux and are present in the wiki as if it was canon. I don't know if Hinterland or if anyone from Hinterland has acknowledged this, but I truly believe if it isn't in the post-Redux story, it shouldn't be considered canon. Does this mean that these videos are invalid and should be deleted? No. While I personally consider some parts of these videos non-canon now, that non-canon lore doesn't change anything too drastically. For Grey Mother, it offers more descriptive details for the events of Lily's accident, her relationship with Martin, and how she felt after their separation. This can all be speculated on based on what little she does provide in Redux. For Carter Dam, I'm still unsure what to say about it. The Predux dialogue provides more or less the same information as the Redux dialogue. Jeremiah offers more information in Redux, which is what sparked this video and the topic of lore inconsistencies. The Mystery Lake and area note from episode 2 also provides information about the dam's history. With all this in mind, there are still inconsistencies on the wiki. Unless there is another note that was in Predux that was removed in Redux, I cannot find where this information about the 1980s revival and 1990s closure came from. The post-collapse revival is never directly mentioned in-game, but is supported by the Carter Hydro Dam Safety and Shutdown Notice note. The note, written by Carter Hydro CEO Robert Clark, is mentioned in the buffer memories for the dam in the computers. While the computers are dated, so is the dam and everything in it. This revival attempt and closure, which mentions the forest talkers, happened after the 1990s. Of course, all of this is what contradicts Jeremiah's Redux dialogue about the dam. Essentially, there are 3 problems here. First, unless Hinterland says so, Predux information that is not in Redux should not be considered canon. Therefore, the fandom wiki is mixing canon lore with non-canon lore. Second, Hinterland also included their own lore inconsistency in the Redux, which is contradicted by various notes and buffer memories in Episode 2 and Survival Mode. While this lore is supplementary and not essential for the overall story, it is essential for world building and maintaining an accurate history of the island. Finally, I need to be more careful when it comes to trusting the wiki. Also, I need to make sure that every bit of dialogue in the post-Redux game matches what is written in the Wintermute notes, survival notes, and buffer memories. With that being said, I will be more careful when it comes to using the fandom wiki for the Long Dark. This problem should only affect episodes 1 and 2, and I've already made sure to look over what I wrote for the previous lore video about Jeremiah himself. Speaking of Jeremiah and Inconsistencies, I'm pretty sure that Jeremiah never says his name in Redux episode 2, but Will somehow knows his name towards the end of the episode. Unless I missed it after watching all the cutscenes multiple times, he never tells Will his name. I want to give Game Boss a huge shout out for posting a full cutscene and dialogue movie of Redux episodes 1 and 2. The link to their video is in the description if you want to watch it. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the lore video for Wintermute episode 2. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep making them.